what's your outlook for tech in 2018? Can it compare to 2017?
I think we're going to continue to see massive growth in the underlying revenue and earnings of these companies. And if you look at them, each of them from a market perspective has been way up in this year. I mean, the largest companies, 50%. And of course, investors are concerned. The tech companies, the FANG companies together account for, they're way overweight. Together, they're about 10% of the S&P 500. All tech is around 20+% of the S&P 500. So at some point, we are going to see investors slowing down their investment in these companies.
It feels like, though, we ask that every year, and every year tech keeps getting higher and higher.
Well, part of it is that you're dealing with companies that are so dominant in these businesses. So if you look at between Google and Facebook, they totally dominate all digital advertising. They're 75% of digital advertising. If you look at Apple, we can look at all the super cycles from Apple, but the reality is Apple delivers the highest priced phones and the entire ecosystem around it. So in a lot of ways, these companies are unassailable. Their growth is going to continue.
So what are the headwinds? I mean, we saw what happened with Apple and Nomura earlier today. You know, where do you see weakness?
I think the biggest weakness is going to be as these companies are moving into international markets, they're facing some very, very tough competition. So if you look at Alibaba, JD.com, Tencent, these companies are not just staying at home. They're moving beyond. I think we're going to see a lot more of the penetration of Android phones. So in each one of these companies, and of course there's a big backlash against Facebook and Instagram at this point. So somebody else will come out with a service that drives consumers. So do I think these are near-term trends? No, but I think it's going to affect them longer term.
Where do you think the battle lines will be drawn abroad? I mean, what countries or what markets do you see these companies clashing with Chinese tech companies?
Well, I think they're going to, certainly in Asia, but the Chinese tech companies are going to be moving here. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we're going to have a lot more regulation in Europe that's going to dampen the growth of any of the major tech companies. So it's, again, there's nothing imminent, mm-hmm. but over time, also the law of large numbers just overtakes you.
Right. Our producer Aaron Dresch said that the worst thing that tech has going for it is how well they did this year. So, you know, my question is then, you know, if none of these things are near term or immediate, then what happens, let's say, in the first half of 2018?
I think they're going to continue to grow. I think we're going to see tremendous growth from each of these companies. And part of it is that the underlying forces are there. It's the shift to e-commerce, it's the shift of advertising and the growth in digital. Everything that's going on in these across the industry is really, it's a rising tide that's going to float all of these big company ships.